Hello, Steeler Nation, and welcome to your Steeler Nation Vidcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises, part of the Big Play Podcast Network over at YouTube. I'm your host, G.Stryker, and what a last season for Ben Roethlisberger. The Big Ben put together kind of a year where it looked like the Steelers were rebuilding. Obviously, 7 drafted players started at one point or another, 4 on offense, and still managed to find a way to get the Steelers to the postseason in the craziest fashion possible. I mean, he came back in games this season against Buffalo, Seattle in overtime, Cleveland, Chicago, Baltimore, twice, once in overtime, once because they failed their 2-point conversion, and we held Tennessee. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 9 wins for the Pittsburgh Steelers were fourth quarter comebacks by Ben Roethlisberger. We had those 2 huge near comebacks against the Chargers and the Vikings. Obviously, we didn't get to finish those off. Still a great way to make those games exciting when we thought those games were over in the first quarter. Those teams were scoring at will in the first halves on us. Ben turned those games into possible wins, and it's going to be a new frontier moving forward. So I was happy to celebrate Ben for what he was this season. 2 big games also to finish up the end of the year against the Cleveland Browns at home, then going on the road to finish his final game as a regular season quarterback in Baltimore, a place that hates him like no other, and a game where both were playing to make the playoffs. Both needed Jacksonville Jaguars to help them out. Jacksonville helped them out. So Ben got into the playoffs. Thankfully, the Chargers and Raiders did not tie. They could have, but they didn't. And it made for an excellent season, at least an exciting one. The pragmatist GM inside of me is like, well, we should have lost against Cleveland and Baltimore. Then we'd be picking ahead of everybody in our division. But the fan in me wanting to see wins, wanting to see Ben go out the way he did, and the way he went out at home against Cleveland, that was an epic turnout by fans that had 18 years of support of their quarterback on the field. Guys, this is a live show. You got questions, you got comments, please go ahead and throw them up there. Kenny Beamer, let's go. Always, my friend. Always good to hear from you. I don't know how you get on these things so quick. But yeah, we're on live on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. Any questions? I am still traveling in Arizona. Got my hat on. Having a good time out here in Arizona. It's still light out here. I know it's dark on the East Coast, but I'm happy to still be able to do the vidcast here for us. So any questions, any comments you guys have, throw them down there. I will get to them. Couple things, too. I just want to talk about Ben's career as a whole. You have him with finishing number 5 all-time for yardage, for attempts, and for completions. Number 5 all-time. And that is number 1 for any quarterback that's only been with one team. So you got a couple quarterbacks that played on multiple teams, but Ben was only one. He's number 8 all-time with touchdowns. If you're going on for one team, he's number 3. Marino was ahead of him. I know that. There was another person. I can't recall who it was in my research. But he's number 3 when we were talking about fourth quarter comebacks. I think that really defines Ben Roethlisberger in his career of being a clutch quarterback. Number 3 all time. Only 1 comeback behind Tom Brady. Only 2 comebacks behind the leader at 43, who was Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning finished his career with 43 comebacks. 42 for Brady currently, still going. 41 for Ben. Number 3 all time. Next people aren't even close. They're going to have that for a while. Those 3 are in rare air, all Hall of Famers, in my opinion. So Ben is now officially getting on with his life's work, as Coach Chuck Noll used to say. Where is he going to go from here? I want to just put a quick pin in that, because we are giving away an authentic field jersey signed, thanks to our sponsors over at Total Sports Enterprises. You go over to Steeler Nation Twitter at Steeler Nation, we're able to see that giveaway and the instructions for us. You have to be following Steeler Nation. You have to follow our newest sponsor, Canadips, Canadips, and they are the new CBD dip pouch. So this is an option to get CBD through dip pouches, I guess. The Canadips, thank you very much for sponsoring this as well. And make sure you're following the podcast at _SN podcast. Retweet it. You're in. And then there's a way to get 6 more entries if you follow the rafflecopter.com link there. You can get up to 6 entries for this authentic field jersey for Ben Roethlisberger. Good luck, Steeler Nation. This would be a perfect thing to end Ben's career by having something to be able to hang on your wall or wear. And thank you so much again, Total Sports Enterprises, for supplying the jersey, and Fanatics for the certificate of authenticity. Everybody did an awesome job for this giveaway at the end of the season to mark Ben Roethlisberger's career. Not this jersey that I am wearing, mind you. Not my Super Bowl XL jersey that I kept from his second year in the league, winning a Super Bowl. That one I'm going to keep. But you guys can win the on-field jersey, and that would be great. And Kenny, you asked at the right time, my friend. Nobody has better timing than Kenny Beamer. And, well, who is the next quarterback? That is the next segment we have right now. Sean, we'll get to you too over there on Facebook. Good to hear from you, Sean. Time to rebuild both lines and get a caretaker quarterback. It's like you guys are my producers to the show today. Excellent points, and I'm getting to those exact points right here because now that Ben Roethlisberger is getting along with his life's work, what are the options? Obviously, first option, which is the highest, most exciting option, I guess you could say, would be trade for a great quarterback. We know Russell Wilson is not happy in Seattle. We know Aaron Rodgers is talking about leaving in Green Bay. I don't know why. He's always in the NFC Championship game. But these guys are talking about not being happy in their situations. So would we want to go out and get one of these guys? I would love to have either of them. I personally like Wilson just a hair more than Rodgers. He's younger. I think he's just a smarter quarterback. Rodgers seems to be a more talented quarterback. Not 100% sold on him in the locker room, but can't deny his talent. I think he would make the team instantly. Both of those guys would make this team instantly better. Problem is the Steelers are rebuilding. So to get any of those players, we now have to talk about giving up draft picks. And that is something that I just don't see this team doing. As much as we'd like to give up a first or a second rounder, like something like that, yeah. Like if you give up 1 first rounder, maybe 2 first rounders, I don't know. That would be way too much. And they're asking for 3 first rounders for franchise quarterbacks. And that's pretty much the going rate. And for the Steelers to be in rebuilding mode, I don't see how they can rebuild giving up 3 first-round draft picks when this is a team that builds in the draft. So we'll have to see where it moves on from there. But that option, I would say, would have to be the dream option. Would love for it to happen. Probably not going to happen. If one of those guys pissed off their team enough to get fired and cut from their team, then yes, we will go after them hardcore. So what's the second option now, Stryker? Second option is the current quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers is already on the roster. No, Stryker, we don't want to hear that. Yes. Might already be on the roster. We still have Rudolph on the roster for next year. Haskins is a restricted free agent. He is going to be given an offer. There's no way that Haskins is not going to be given an offer for restricted free agency. And Dobbs is a free agent. We would have to re-sign Dobbs, possibility. But for me, I've always been excited about Haskins. If we're talking about retaining talent, in Haskins' first season, he played just as good as Rudolph has, having 3 seasons in this offense. That is something that really impressed me about Haskins in the preseason. If you remember back to the preseason, we were moving the football very well, both with Rudolph and with Haskins. Those guys did an excellent job of scoring points in the preseason in Matt Canada's offense. I still think Matt Canada is going to be back this year. I don't think we were running his offense. I think we were running Big Ben's offense because we were running what Big Ben could do. He's not the same quarterback anymore. These guys are younger. They can make throws. They can throw down the middle of the field. They can throw longer than 20 yards. These are things that Ben had trouble with here at the end of his career. So it'll be interesting to see Matt Canada's offense run with quarterbacks that can actually run his offense. Now, I think, picking up people maybe in the next part, number 3, with free agency, that might be the next one to do. Corey Franks chiming in as well over here on Facebook. What do you have to say here, Corey? Okay, I feel that we should use that $46 million in cap space to improve the O-line and secondary and take Pickett with our number 1 pick or Ritter and then go middle linebacker in the second round. I can't deny that. I would love to have Kenny Pickett. To me, that is number 3 past the roster is the draft. The draft is an option of getting a quarterback. And I agree with Corey. I think that Kenny Pickett is probably the best quarterback for Pittsburgh system, transitioning from Pitt to Steelers. Always a good story. I don't think he's going to fall to 20, though. That's the problem with making the playoffs. It would be difficult for the Steelers to give up draft picks to move up for a player like that. Could he fall? Could stranger things happen in the draft? Players like players like Aaron Rodgers fell. And it's just what happens sometimes. So players like Marino fell, and we didn't draft that pick quarterback back then when he fell. So this time, if Pickett falls to that point, I think the Steelers would take Pickett. I honestly do. But I don't see them taking a quarterback in the first if it is not Pickett. If they don't take a quarterback in the first, I don't see them taking a quarterback until maybe 4, 5, or 6 or 7 later in the draft. Because it just doesn't become a priority at that point. Hopefully, free agency might be the place where we are getting the draft, the new quarterback, and we'll talk about that next as soon as we get to Kenny over here. Kenny, I'm not liking 22 drafts for quarterbacks, and a lot of people don't, Kenny. That is an excellent point. The quarterback draft is very limited this year. Probably have to look for somebody that's maybe a little bit more mobile from a smaller school. Might want to go back out and talk to who was that? Rivers that used to play over there at Slippery Rock. We interviewed him on the show before. I'd like to get his talent in the room again. I mean, he's been tweeting out to the Steelers right here in the last couple months. So I would love for the Steelers to bring him in to see what he can do talent-wise, because he's the most mobile of any of the quarterbacks that we would have if he was thrown into the system. So it would be interesting to see what he could do as well. And he, of course, set some records over there at Slippery Rock with his touchdowns, like up around 50 touchdowns. He was insane, absolutely insane. But let's talk about number 4, free agency. So free agency, we are now looking at a bunch of quarterbacks. Some may excite you, some may not, but these are who they are. And here's my tab. Great. Ben Roethlisberger is a free agent, but he's retiring. We know he's not going to be in the league anymore. He's listed currently on Spotrac as the number 1 free agent. Ryan Fitzmagic is number 2. I don't mind a Fitzmagic on the team. I think he's at the point now of his career where he'd be a stopgap. He wouldn't really offer a whole lot for the Steelers. Andy Dalton, I don't think the Steelers would take Big Red and Andy Dalton. Cam Newton is past his prime. I like his mobility. He had 4 touchdowns throwing with 5 rushing touchdowns, but he's not a passer with his 4 touchdowns throwing and 5 interceptions. He was upside down in his pass ratio, but still getting some touchdowns with his feet is ideal. Tyrod Taylor, another mobile quarterback, but he was 5 and 3 with his 5 and 3 total touchdowns, 8. So 5 passing, 3 rushing, and 5 interceptions. Still a guy that's a 1-to-1 ratio touchdown interception guy. But this is the guy. This is the guy that I love. And I would love to have him on Pittsburgh. I wanted him last year. If you guys remembered, I was talking about this on the podcast last year. And that is Jameis Winston. I think this guy is just an excellent ball player. He's accurate. He's now making great decisions. He can make just about every throw on the field. 14 touchdowns with 1 rushing touchdown and only 3 interceptions. And that New Orleans team looked like a contender when he was their quarterback. As soon as he got benched, They look like hot garbage. They got surpassed by everybody else in their division. And that's what a great quarterback does for your team. Jameis Winston would be my number one go-to. And then there's a couple guys on here that I know we've talked about as well. Teddy Bridgewater would be another one that I would not mind going after. He played 14 games as opposed to 7 games for Winston. He had 18 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 20 total with 7 interceptions. Still a good option, pretty mobile, smart quarterback. Marcus Mariota is there. Trubisky is there as well. They served as backups this season. They have talent. Did we want to try to develop somebody? I don't know if we're going to take one of those guys because we already have one of those guys on our roster, and that is Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins is that guy that was drafted in the first round, has all the talent in the world, hasn't put it together yet. I don't think we're going to do that with multiple quarterbacks, but somebody that's already been established, somebody that's already still a starter in this league, like a Bridgewater, like a Winston. Those are the guys that I'd be the most excited about if I was going to go out and try to grab another good quarterback in free agency. Another big thing that I have to get to, aside from all of the quarterback talk, and you guys too, chime in there. Let me know what quarterbacks you guys like or who you guys are thinking about. We can talk about them a little bit. I'll give you my ideas on them. Free agency, draft, crazy trades, whatever you want to talk about. This is the fun way to do it. How do I feel about Josh Allen joining Pittsburgh? You mean if you mean the quarterback from Buffalo Bills, I would love Josh Allen in Pittsburgh. I think Josh Allen's an incredible quarterback and reminds me a lot of a young Ben Roethlisberger with his mobility. That is the ultimate to me. If we had somebody like Josh Allen, I would absolutely love that guy. Is there another? I don't know if there's another quarterback that's also named Josh Allen that's coming out from college. If so, I don't know that guy yet. But the Josh Allen that's currently in the league, I'd take him in a hot minute. Gordon over there, Gordon Holsinger Jr. over on Facebook. Russell Wilson, that's my number one pick. If we are going to make a trade for a quarterback, Gordon, my number one pick is Russell Wilson. With you 100% on that one. Love it. Calvin Pittman over on Facebook. Get Huntley from Baltimore. I don't hate Huntley. I think Huntley's a good quarterback. He doesn't really fit our system yet. He fits perfectly in Baltimore's system. And for an undrafted quarterback to be able to come out there and I thought play really well in that, a really nice comeback win on that last drive against Chicago for Baltimore. As much as I wanted to root against Baltimore winning, he had a heck of a drive there on that last drive. I know Baltimore's kind of soured on him since they went 0 down the stretch and missed the playoffs when they had like a 98% chance of making the playoffs when they were like 8-2. So that really hurts Baltimore. And they're going to hang a lot of that hatred on Huntley. If they don't hang it on their coach, who they should, their coach going for 2 twice at the end of regulation, losing both 2-point conversions, not going to overtime with the best kicker in the NFL, when that kicker would have tied up both of those games in regulation. Best kicker in NFL history. That's on Harbaugh. Baltimore fans need to be a lot harder on Harbaugh for those bonehead decisions, going for 2, failing, losing in Pittsburgh, losing again to another team. I forget offhand who it was. But think about if Tomlin did that, guys. How would Steeler Nation react if Tomlin went for 2 at the end of the game and lost it? I don't think they'd be as quiet as those bad call fans over there in Baltimore. Then Baltimore Horns over there rooting for them bad calls. Bad call, ref. Yeah, we know. Call. But that's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't like Tomlin for some reason. I don't know how Harbaugh gets a pass in Baltimore, but if Tomlin did the same damn thing, you guys would be jumping off of one of the 200 bridges in Pittsburgh and trying to take somebody with you, mainly Coach Tomlin. Here we go. Justin Conway. Build the O-line before even thinking about quarterback. Thank you. Thank you, Justin. That's exactly what we have to do. Whether it's free agency, whether it's draft, whether it's trades, whether it's all 3, This line has to be better. This line has to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust because we are now a Najee Harris offense. Najee Harris did an awesome job this season. First round draft pick, number 4 rushing in the league. First season off of that hot garbage offensive line. That line was hot. I've never seen a running back do better behind a bad offensive line since watching Barry Sanders do it in Detroit after that garbage offensive line as well. But that guy was a rare talent. Najee's a rare talent as well, but he's not as elusive. I mean, Sanders was playing flag football or two-hand touch where everybody else was playing tackle. You couldn't even get 2 hands on Barry Sanders. That guy was so elusive. But I love Najee's strength with speed, with agility combination. It's a rare blend. And his durability and his ball handling prowess. Not a single fumble. With the most touches in the league. Receiving, rushing. In the league, not a single fumble. That is a guy you build your offense with. Sure, don't draft running backs in the first round. Yeah, we hear you, Kuiper. But you don't find a running back like that in any round but the first. And we've got our running back for the future. And he's locked up for another four years because since we got him in the first round, he will get 5th-year options. He is a special talent, and we will be building this line around him. And I'm with you. That's a great call. Both offensive and defensive lines I was thinking about too, Justin. I think we need to get some more depth here on defensive line. I think we need to get a starting nose tackle, maybe in the 3rd round or early in day 3, 4, 5. Definitely have to get somebody in there to eat up people that does it well. And those guys drop in the draft. Those are guys that are a little easier to get. Do we start talking about getting another center? Or are we like the way Stryker thinks? This is the guy. I'm not as hard on Kendrick Green than a lot of people are in this league and in this Steeler Nation because he went from being a guard in college to being a starting center in the NFL. And I thought he did an exceptional job his first 10 weeks. Exceptional job. No big mistakes. Snapping the ball pretty well. He had that one game where he's trying to snap with the glove. It was all over the place. Boop, 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 boop. And he looked like crap. And then he's like, oh, I'm not snapping with the glove anymore. That corrected it. Did much better after that. But he hit the rookie wall. Pouncey was even talking about that. Pouncey hit the rookie wall. Though he got injured also down the stretch. Didn't make the Super Bowl in his rookie year. And that was 2010. But Green hit the rookie wall. Like, Moore didn't. Najee Harris didn't hit the rookie wall. Najee Harris ran through the rookie wall. I've never seen anybody that NFL ready in my life than Najee Harris. Well worth the first-round draft pick. And we'll talk about a couple more of the draft picks up here coming up. But I'm not as harsh on Green. I think with a year under him, getting more conditioning, a little bit more size, his athleticism is off the charts. This guy might be like a Dermody Dirt Dawson coming off of the center position. If he puts on a little bit more size, gets a little bit more handsy, this guy is going to be really, really tough and a good weapon. Another pulling center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Something fun to watch. But if he moves to guard, he can do it. He can do it in the NFL. Would not have a problem with that. Next question, come out, Gordon again. What about Aaron Rodgers? We talked about Aaron Rodgers also at the top of the show about being options. I personally like Russell Wilson more than Aaron Rodgers. Everybody has an opinion on that, but you can't deny his talent. Absolutely can't deny his talent. And I wouldn't be upset to have him. If we had him, we'll instantly be a good team, definitely a playoff team, maybe even get to the AFC Championship game, because that's all he does is get to championship games, NFC Championship games. Heck of a player. Problem is we have to give up draft picks for him. When you're rebuilding, I just don't see us giving up those high draft picks. If they end up going AB and getting their team to fire him, yes, pick them up. And then we don't have to give up a draft pick because the Steelers are a good destination. A lot of talent in receiving positions, good tight end, awesome running back, offensive line rebuilding. This is a good defense. And this is a good enticing location for a quarterback to come into to instantly have a playoff team and make the team better. So we'll have to see that. Kenny Beamer, I definitely want to get a quarterback. I don't want to give the job to Mason or Haskins. Make them earn it. I'm fine with that too. And even if we do bring in somebody in free agency, which we will do, in my opinion, if it's Bridgewater, if it's Winston, if it's Mariota, who knows? I mean, I think it'd be somebody a little bit more established. Winston or Bridgewater, to tell you the truth. Make them all compete. But I think either of those guys would probably beat out Haskins or Rudolph, I think he's a good backup. He got the tie in Detroit, and the tie put us into the playoffs. It wasn't his fault we had 2 turnovers after he threw it to the players that fumbled it in overtime. That's not on him. He made the plays to win. He made the plays to win that game in Detroit. Don't forget that, guys. As much as you want to be upset with the tie, as much as you want to hang that tie on Mason, he did exactly what he was supposed to do in overtime. The Steelers kept putting that ball on the ground, and that's why we lost that game, or that's why we didn't win that game. We tied the game in overtime. Michael Hall, how you doing, my friend? Secondary and or lineman help? Any thoughts on that? Yes. And that's my other point that I wanted to bring up, is what I think is one of the biggest needs on this team. And this is something that's been overlooked for quite a few years now, and that is strong safety. This team operates with a strong safety. I mean, we had Polamalu for years, but we had Myron Bell before that. We had Lethon Flowers before that. Heavy hitting guys that come out of the middle, just kill you in the run game. And if you're catching the ball in front of them, you get alligator arms real quick. Those T-Rex arms trying to catch those footballs after you get hit once by those guys. And that's what we're missing. Edmonds is not that guy. Edmonds hits the hole and gets hit. Edmonds lets the guy catch in front of them and then helps them softly to the ground. He's just not the guy that I want to be our strong safety. I'm done with him. I've been done with him for 2 years now. And it's time to move on. That is a position, even over cornerback, guys, which we do need to draft a corner. If somebody slips in the first and second, I think we're getting a quarterback in day 1 or day 2. Definitely. Steelers will be targeting a corner, but if a safety drops, that is what Steelers will need, because the Steelers defense runs on a strong safety, allows Fitzpatrick to be more roving, allows the inside linebackers to be able to play a little bit more downhill. That's what we're missing. We haven't had solid, manly tackling from the strong safety position since Polamalu left, and we've been left with Edmonds. That's the problem. And beforehand, we had frickin' Davis, Sean Davis. They're guys. They're athletic guys. They can move quickly, but they're not the guys that are bringing it down. They're not the guys making the plays. So, yes, I think it's high cornerback, strong safety. I agree with you on that completely, Mr. Hall, as well as inside linebacker. We got to find some more inside linebacker help. I don't know if Buddy Johnson's going to develop. Who knows? Spillane is like my favorite. Schobert might have to be a salary cap cut. We save like $8 million on his $9 million salary if we cut him. That might be a salary cap cut, because I don't know if he's a $9 million guy. He didn't look like it this season. He just didn't. And I was expecting more out of Schobert. I really was. Robert, always good to hear from you, my friend. I love your opinions. I respect John Harbaugh for going for 2. He is a great coach, and there will be other seasons where the luck of the draw with the numbers works in his favor, the way the coaches give out player comp. And I'm with you 100%. I 100% agree with that statement. I'm always a go for 2 guy. There's a reason why when 2-point conversions started, our team was going for them at the highest clip in the league. We went for it 12 times. Next closest team was like 5. We were always going for 2. And even now, like, if it's a bad weather game, you should always go for 2, because you're kicking back from so much farther. Much easier to get 2 yards than it is to kick from 25 out. It's just the numbers. If you're playing the numbers, that's just the way it works out. For attempt to point ratio, always go for 2. But it did cost them 2 games, and that sucks. And that's what people remember, is when it costs you games, it's always tough. And John Harbaugh always going through the 2 tells his players that he has full confidence in them, versus Mike Tomlin never going for it. And seeing that now you're playing the other side of it, and that's wrong. Mike Tomlin's gone for it more than any other coach. So you got it. And that's the thing. With a lot of people hate hate Tomlin for things that other coaches do. A lot of people hate Tomlin for things that other coaches don't do. So that's what I don't get, and that's what the rest of the league doesn't understand about Steelers fans, because right there is a direct contradiction, because Tomlin goes for it more than any other quarterback coach or any other head coach. Joseph, guy was always going forward, insane how strong he ran behind this line. Yeah, Najee was awesome to watch this year. Justin saying we need a space eater. Yes, we do. Definitely. We got to take that nose tackle. I loved Hargrave. He was such a find in the third round. Adams is good. I mean, I'm not as high on retaining Adams and expecting him to be all-world. Tyson Alualu was all-world. He was great. Fantastic. He got hurt, but I honestly think Alualu is going to retire. He's 35, just came off an incredible injury that cost him his season. You don't want to go through that again. He might be done. Honestly, I think he might be done. Michael Hall coming back again. Do you think Juju will re-sign after a not-so-good season due to the injury, maybe a redemption year? Well, I would love to have Juju back because he's a team leader, and I love what he gives the team. Now, if we were going to take one of those great quarterbacks, like if we found a way to get Rodgers or we found a way to get Russell Wilson, then you have to get Juju. You have to, because that's what makes this offense so much better and so much more difficult to defend, is having Juju Smith-Schuster on the field with those guys. So, yes, in that respect, yes. My only problem is playing the numbers game. He's going to cost a lot of money. He's going to cost $13 million minimum a season. I mean, I know if we give him a 5-year contract, it would be a little less, probably in the 5 to 7 range as his contract plays out, maybe even less with the way it's all signing bonus. But that is something to consider. I want to figure out his market value. I don't know if he's going to go into free agency expecting $15 million a season, which he should expect it. But the problem is he was offered $14 million last season from Kansas City, turned it down. He was offered $13 million last year from Baltimore, turned it down to play with Ben for $9 million. So, that's the way it works out sometimes, guys. That might have devalued him specifically coming off an injury, but he's shown he's come back from that injury. He came back and played hard in that game. He put on tape, showed the rest of the league that he can come back from a terrible injury. Same season, which nobody was expecting him to come back. I didn't even expect him to come back. No way was he going to make it back from a 6-month rehab in 3 months, and he did it. He absolutely did it. So kudos to him. He knows he put on tape, and he's been talking about it in his presser too. He said, I put on tape what I can do for the rest of the league. That tells me in my mind, Juju's already thinking about being a free agent and not being back in Pittsburgh. Not being back on part of Pittsburgh. He's going to take Bougie with him. They're going to go off to another city. And unfortunately, that's tough for us to have to swallow because I love him as a player. Green needs to bulk up and should be okay. With you 100% there on that, Michael. 4th down and even on 3rd downs, Mike Tomlin calling unsuccessful short plays. Punting shows lack of confidence in his team of players. No, going for it. Now you're saying being unsuccessful is the lack of confidence. The thing is going for it. John Harbaugh goes for it too. They both do. That's why they've both been tenured in this league for so long, is because they challenge their players to do that. And I'll remember on a 4th down against the Dallas Cowboys in 2008 in December when we failed at the beginning of the 4th quarter and the Dallas Cowboys ran off the field like they won the game. Tomlin challenged his team to go out there and win that game, and they failed in that instance. Well, what did they do? Scored another touchdown their next drive, then a pick 6 with Deshae Townsend. That team went on a winning streak the rest of the season, won that Super Bowl, and that's how you challenge your teams. So don't forget about those things too, Robert, because Mike Tomlin is one of those guys that do go for it as well, and that's what I like that as well. So we got Gordon over here as well. Aaron Rodgers is overrated and old. I say we get Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh for college first and get rid of Matt Canada. Well, unfortunately, I don't think Matt Canada is going anywhere. I also don't think we ran Matt Canada's offense this year. I think we were running Ben Roethlisberger's offense because Ben couldn't make any throws down the middle of the field. He could only make sideline throws or plays right ahead of him within 8 yards. If it was a 3rd and over 8, I didn't think we had any chance of converting it. Whereas his entire career, I'm like, if we have a 3rd and whatever, we've got a chance of converting it. I've seen him convert 3rd and 25s. I mean, that's just the way it is. And, hey, love the letters. Yeah, everybody gets representation over here. That's fantastic. Gordon again, and also need a new punter. I disagree strongly. Disagree strongly, Gordon. And I will tell you why. I love Presley Harvin coming back from all of the doubt that was thrown his way to have one of the best punting games right here in the playoffs, in the game that mattered. He was wrecking 50-yarders in the playoffs. He also didn't screw up a single place hold. And that's the reason why we liked him over Waitman. That's the reason why Tomlin wanted to make sure we weren't going to switch out with somebody else. So Waitman was picked up by another team, another playoff or another NFL caliber punter. The Steelers seem to be breeding NFL caliber punters. Still got the guy over there in Minnesota as well, Barry. I like me some Barry, and Barry did kick pretty well. But we're arguing over punters. Punters aren't costing you games, and this guy's athletic. He's big. He's smart. I expect him to start throwing some plays on fourth downs when we start going for it, Robert, on fourth downs in the punting scene, and maybe even running up the middle with that big body on a punt. That would be interesting to see. That would be really interesting to see. Chow, Dad, back in the game, man. Nice to hear from you, man. Always good to hear from you. How many free agents do you think we will be able to keep? Which ones take priority? I want Joe. Minka is already signed. He's fifth-year optioned, I believe, but they're probably going to re-sign him like they did. They fifth-year option Watt. Watt technically could have played under his fifth-year option this year. They signed him to a world record contract. So I would love Joe back as well. Joe Hayden, obviously. Steelers really don't have anybody at corner. They just don't. Problem is, Joe's getting old. He's starting to get banged up. I don't know how much he's going to be there for us. We've got to start finding maybe some other free agents to bring in. Juju would be a luxury, honestly, at this point. Absolute luxury. Do you think TJ is outright front runner for Defensive Player of the Year? I do. He set the record for sacks in the NFL in 15 games, not 16 like Strahan, but in 15 games played. And then showing the entire league what a guy with the athleticism of TJ Watt can do for a terrible offensive team in Pittsburgh, gave us a lead. Gave us a lead, and we were playing strong, deflected a pass for an interception by Devin Bush, picked up a fumble by Cam Hayward, ran it to the house for the only lead the Steelers had in the playoffs. I think that touchdown itself solidified. I thought he already had it, Michael. Leading the league in sacks. Strahan got it the year he did it. When you set a record, you usually get Defensive Player of the Year. Watt set a record, but getting that touchdown in the playoffs was the icing on the cake. His first touchdown ever, a big one. And just seeing the athleticism, the way he jumped up to knock that pass right up in the air for Devin Bush to pick off. It is unquestioned now, even like the guys that have votes that don't really watch Pittsburgh, that just watch the stat line. Pittsburgh, I don't want to root for him. Look, Darnold gets double teamed. TJ Watt gets double teamed every damn play too, you idiots. Don't give me that crap. Darnold always gets double teamed. TJ Watt gets double teamed, and he's still making sacks at a record clip, going up again for the fourth straight. Every season he's been in the league, 5 straight years, he's had more sacks than this previous season. So hopefully the trend continues. He goes out there and he sets the new record for NFL sacks next season. Would love to see that. Defensive Player of the Year. He should also, in my opinion, get some MVP votes. There's no way the Steelers made the playoffs without him. I think he accounted for about 4 of those wins. Seattle in overtime. The guy just makes plays that are just game-changing plays. Absolute game-changing plays. And I love having him for it. So you never know how it's going to run with that. And what we got here. There we go. Robert back again. Hardy Hardware, man. Nickerson was Carnell Lake. Both like a hybrid state. Love those guys. Loved those guys, Robert. Especially Lake. Like, how crazy was Lake, too? The year Rod Woodson went down. We can't stop anybody. Lake's like, I'll try playing corner. And then he makes the Pro Bowl as a corner. Lake was phenomenal. Yeah, that hybrid safety linebacker. Those are the guys Dave's missing with the nepotism of the Adams brothers because Colbert played college ball with their dad. That could be it, but I think they have a better draft process than just playing college ball. The only time we had a nepotism real pickup was when we picked up Fast Willie Parker out of North Carolina because one of the Rooney's kids saw him play and not get on the Never played in any game, really. Got in a couple games. Had 4 different offensive coordinators in 4 years. Steelers turned him into a pretty damn good player. Won us 2 Super Bowls. Heck of a good player. Was undefeated as a starter, too, in the playoffs. Loved me from some fast Willie Parker. Edmonds brothers made and have stayed on the Steelers because of old-fashioned Steelers nepotism, because Kevin Colbert played with their dad. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't. The other one was a higher draft pick. This Edmonds, he's more of like a helper. I mean, he really doesn't have to help out much. He's supposed to be the backup fullback. We don't use fullbacks anyway, which is stupid. I wish we did. Wish we used him more. Corey Frank, what do you think about Pat Freiermuth? I ain't going to lie, but I laughed at the pick like a lot of other people, but the boy, were we wrong. This kid should be sure top 10, maybe top 5 tight end in the NFL next couple years. I completely agree. I was saying, you guys make sure to watch the draft this year. I have a draft show. I'm live the entire draft. 20 hours you have of me for 4 days talking about the draft. This year, the beginning of day 2, I said the Steelers are going to be drafting a lineman unless Pat Freiermuth is available. And what happened? Pat fell all the way down to the Steelers pick. Steelers picked him. It's the only time I've ever been right on a draft pick. I was even wrong on Najee Harris. I thought we were going ETN. We went Najee Harris. I'm an idiot. But I was right on Pat Freiermuth. We picked up Pat, and he's phenomenal. The guy is sure-handed. He's going to be a better blocker. He's going to get a little bit more size next year. He's athletic. I think that he's going to be a real safety valve for our next quarterback of the future, too. So I'm super excited to see that, too. So, Robert, you're right. Striker Mike Tomlin used to be a go-for-2 guy, just like he's lying when he says the standard is still the standard. He pretends he's a go-for-2 guy, then does the opposite. You obviously missed my podcast when I said the standard was substandard when we went on that losing streak. And then what happened? We ended up making the playoffs. That I understand if you don't like Tomlin, you're not going to like anything he does. But I don't hate the guy. He's all right. What's up? Not to Albert. What you? Me good, I think. What y'all think of Tyler Huntley? There we go. Another time coming back to Tyler Huntley. I think he's a fantastic guy in Baltimore's system for what they do in a running offense. I don't know if that's the type of offense and that would transition as well for Pittsburgh, but it is perfect because the Baltimore Ravens did not have to change their offense when Lamar Jackson went down. Huntley, an undrafted college quarterback, came in and played well. So, yeah, I think he's a good quarterback. Good quarterback. If that's the same guy we're talking about. If I'm talking about somebody else, I might be off. Does anybody think Trubisky is worth a look? Yeah, Joseph, the writers over at Steeler Nation, we're all part of a group make chat. And, yes, Trubisky is talked about a lot over there as well. He's got a lot of talent. I don't know if the Steelers are just going to go the route of trying to reincarnate a player's career that had talent, was drafted high, when they already have that guy on the roster with Haskins. Haskins was a talented guy, drafted high, trying to turn him into something more. Don't know if they want to do that with 2 guys at the same time. Wouldn't be against it. He's got a heck of a lot of talent. We'd have to see the way it would work out. I'd be a little bit higher on Bridgewater, a lot higher for Winston. Winston's my number 1, absolute number 1. But we'll see how that goes. Robert, half the reason Juju came back would be Big Ben, and then another 10 or 20% of the reason he loves the Steelers as James Conner. So with them both gone, he has no reason to stay. Well, obviously, the only reason he came back, I'm with you there, was completely for Big Ben. And he's going to move on to a system where he's going to be with an established quarterback, and he's got his pick. Being a free agent, that's the good thing. Like, he could have chosen to go to Kansas City. He could have chose to go to Baltimore. He chose to stay in Pittsburgh, and that was huge. Absolutely. So I was so glad he was able to come back for this playoff game, show he can still throw his shoulder hard into people, knock people down, and play well. Always good to see that. LeBron James, it's good to see you off the basketball court and asking questions. Always good to know that you're a Steeler fan. Love to hear that, especially being a Cleveland guy. One more year, Ben, Pittsburgh Steelers, go get him some damn help. No, Ben's done. Ben is done, guys. He took a pay cut just to play this season. Players that take a pay cut have already devalued themselves. He's not going to take a pay cut again next year. but he's already shown he cannot make the throws that he used to make. He's not as accurate downfield anymore. He cannot throw down the middle of the field anymore. Over 15, 20 yards. Just does not have it. Just did not throw that way all year. Everything was 5 to 8 yards right in front of his face. So Ben is done, unfortunately, LeBron. You can come over and play tight end for us anytime. I remember you talking about doing that with the Browns. I would love to have you come over and play some tight end for us, LeBron. Give up basketball. It's a dumb sport anyway. Gordon, get rid of Edmonds and Sutton. Edmonds, yes. Sutton, no. No. Edmonds is a free agent anyway. I don't want any part of Edmonds anyway. So we were talking about that a little earlier. Robert, I know, it doesn't like Edmonds either. I don't like Edmonds. I think he's done. I think the Steelers need to find a real strong safety. I always wanted them to grab Honey Badger, Matthew, but Tyrann Mathieu, but we never went out for him. We never grabbed him. That is the type of strong safety that fits the Pittsburgh Steelers. That type of strong safety. And if the Steelers would end up drafting him, we would have never drafted Edmonds because that guy would still be on our team. He's a heck of a player. And unfortunately, we didn't take him because college. And he ended up being a hell of a pro. Absolute hell of a pro. Calvin Pittman, Deontay Johnson missing drops entirely too many balls. It was unfortunate to see. And he had such a great year too, Calvin. The guy is great, though. He is a great player. He just cannot. He's got to get better at not dropping. I don't know what it is with him. AB was off the charts at being. He had some of the best hands ever. He rarely, 1 or 2 a season, and he'd catch 125 balls, 145 balls. Guy was insane, the numbers that he put up. The only other person that had drop rates like that is like, oh gosh, the old Pitt wide receiver, that Larry Johnson. Or Larry Fitzgerald, sorry. Larry Fitzgerald. Not Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah. Out there in the Cardinals. Where I'm in Phoenix now. Where I am now. Larry Fitzgerald had the best hands I've ever seen on any receiver ever. But he's got good hand positioning. His hands are there. It just hits his hands and hits the ground. He just doesn't have soft hands. Like normal, yeah, he's getting his hands there, but he's being a little bit too, I got my hands there. But you have to be giving. You have to have the soft hands. As soon as the ball gets there, you got to recoil a little bit. I was a receiver. I had a very good receivers coach when I played in high school. I only played flag in college, but you had to be able to catch. I played center in college from flag, but I was center eligible, and I was destroying people as a center eligible receiver. And that was a lot of freaking fun. Gordon, they should give him a half sack. I wish they gave him that sack that Huntley fell on for the fumbled snap, because usually if a quarterback is laying down, if he didn't get back up off of the ground, if he stayed laying on the ground, that would have been a sack. I think the fact that he got up and tried to run and then it was a forced fumble turned him into a runner. That's the reason why it was ruled not a sack. But still, to lead the league in less games than what the record was set, and to be the all-time sack leader for a season, that is something to hang your hat on. And he should be hanging that Defensive Player of the Year award on there too. Should be getting some votes for MVP, in my humble opinion, as well. LeBron James is right. Could Ben be one more year with a legitimately good offensive line, and implicity of how the GM and head coach screwed Ben with both the line they gave him this year? I just don't see it. I don't think that the line has been the reason why Ben sucked. Ben had Villanueva, Pouncey, and DeCastro last year. And he was still the exact same quarterback he was this year, getting the ball out in 2 seconds, throwing 5-6 yard passes. That was it. And then Baltimore showed us how to beat us by throwing 9 people in the box, playing bump and run. And that's we are a one-dimensional offense, and I'm honestly done watching that one-dimensional offense, Robert. I want us to really go forward and become a different offense and see what actually Matt Canada's offense looks like. So that'll be interesting to see. I've seen it in Maryland. We've seen it in Pitt. Let's see it for the Steelers. Jack, lots of love. Thank you, man. We love our Steeler Nation fans, and thank you for being part of this show, guys. We love the questions and comments, as always. Michael Hall back again. Even though TJ tied Michael for sacks, do you think he was robbed, for the record, by the refs in Baltimore? Yeah, just talked about that. So thank you for bringing that up, too. Yeah, we just went over that. Don't think it was robbed. I understand why it was ruled that way, but I would have seen why it would have been ruled the other way as well. But honestly, I thought he was a runner in that situation. Yo, Gabe back in the house. Good to hear from you, Gabe. It's been a few weeks. Always good to hear from you. LeBron back again. Steelers won't be the same without Big Ben. They won't. It's the end of an era, LeBron. You're damn right about that. End of an era. Joe Hayden is about to become a Rod Woodson deja vu all over again when Rod left here and went on to teams like the Ravens, 49ers, and won Super Bowls and Pro Bowls after the Steelers let him walk. The only difference between that, Robert, is age. Rod Woodson was only with the Steelers, I think, for 10 years. I have to look that up here quickly. I know I have my stats stuff up here. I'll check this on here on the sheet. So we'll check out Rod Woodson and see how long he was with the Steelers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Yep, spot on. 10 years into his career. You're talking about Hayden now, who's like 15 years into his career. What was his age back then? Was his age even recorded on here? I don't think so. Yeah, there it is. So, yeah, Rod Woodson was 31 when he left. He was also a cornerback. He tried playing cornerback in San Francisco, did okay. Didn't start getting good until he switched and became a free safety, and that added years. Now we can start talking about can we change Hayden into a free safety and keep him on this team? Then you have to talk about, well, are we going to move Fitzpatrick then to strong safety? And that's a position that he didn't want to play. So you got your options. I don't know, but if he can have that type of longevity, like. Rod Woodson was a freak athlete. He was an Olympian caliber athlete. Hurdlers. He did hurdles. And he was one of the fastest players ever in the NFL. Hayden is not the same type of player. He's a smart guy. He understands plays. He's always in the right position because he's seen it. He's done it before. So I think that's just a different analogy. Probably one that's not going to work. But if Rod Woodson converts cornerback safety, why can't Joe? Yeah, I agree with you. I personally think that Joe could turn to a safety in this league and play some more years. But we just don't have an open spot, I think, on free safety. Is it the 1 inch, 10 pounds? Because both have exceptional talent, football brains. Joe ain't done. Yeah, and that's the only thing I know is athleticism. You're talking about a Hall of Famer that was Olympic caliber athlete. And that's Rod Woodson versus a great football player in Joe Hayden. Completely different levels of talent to be able to transition and play for that much longer, win a Super Bowl with Baltimore. More props, though, to Rod. But I can definitely see him change and become a free safety in this league, though. I just don't see him having a spot on the Steelers, unfortunately, because we have Ryan Fitzpatrick playing that exact same position. We'd have to talk him into playing strong safety. And that's a tough talk. That's a tough decision. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the most nepotism-leading town in history of the NFL before Trump. Well, I don't get into politics here on this show, but they have been around for a very long time. They're a family organization. That's how they know so many people. They're going to make a lot of contacts because of that just alone. Joseph Jester, I love Ben, but he just can't take another year of hits. He really can't. Ben was done. Ben came back after that elbow surgery, was hot there for a little bit till he got it banged up again, then became a short yardage quarterback. And that's it. And that's cool. Sorry for the Trump typo before Chuck Noll. Okay, that's cool. The Steelers are 100% about nepotism. I got you. Well, before Chuck Noll, the Steelers were 100% about giving up their draft picks to bring in other people's veterans that they didn't want anymore. And that's why the Steelers never won a playoff game from 1933 to 1972 before Chuck Noll became their head coach. Devin Bush is a disappointment. I can't disagree. I want to disagree, Calvin. I really do. I really want to disagree on that point. But Devin Bush did not play well this year. When he was our tackle machine. Before he got injured, 8 to 10 tackles a game. The guy was a monster. Hitting the hole, hitting it hard, getting to the ball as the ball was getting to the ball carrier. This year we saw a guy playing inside linebacker, just a guy. Like, it was unfortunate. Really unfortunate. Is he still working back from that injury? I don't know. But he's got one more season to prove it. He's not going to get the 50-year option. The Steelers are not going to 50-year option the kid, unfortunately. But, yeah, sadly, I have to agree with you on that.
Kevin Colbert has known Terrell Edmonds as running back. Yeah, I mean, you keep saying that. I mean, I understand that, and he knows a lot of people. I mean, we might have drafted him a little high. Could have gotten Buda Baker in that draft. If you want to make that argument, I could see that. Because in hindsight, that was probably the better argument. Is wait till the third round draft of the draft to get our strong safety as opposed to using a first. But unfortunately, he didn't work out. He didn't work out. Ben is done, guys. Yes, he is. The end of an era. We love our number 7, guys. We love him to death. And I will always remember all of the great Super Bowls and the great games that he's given us. But you're right. He is done. It's the end of the era. Yeah, we talked about this too, Robert, too, when we were talking about him as front office guy and him transitioning to GM, maybe somebody else. And I love that idea. I think that's a really interesting idea. And maybe someday he may do that. But at least... But we'll have to see. And I like him as a person. I like him as sometimes he cares about the Steelers. It's just the problems go with the actual coaching, go beyond on the field. I just want to see what he can do without Ben as his quarterback. I think that's going to be, well, we did see it 2019 when Ben went down. He only had Duck, Dobbs. Well, actually, Dobbs got traded that season. That's right. We traded Dobbs week 1 for a draft pick. And then we had to go with Duck and Rudolph that season. So still 2 losses with Roethlisberger that year. Rest of the season, he went, 10 and we went 8-8. That's right. He went 8-6 the rest of the season with those 2 quarterbacks. So both Dobbs and Rudolph had winning records that season. So that's interesting. Yeah, check out Rudolph's stats as a starting quarterback. You'd be interested to see his win ratio is pretty high because sometimes when he comes in and plays that last game against Cleveland, I know he won one, then he lost the one last year where he nearly came back to win that one. We had Joe Hayden in those games. We were winning them. We were winning both of those, in my opinion. Gordon, Ben is fine. I'm tired of people wanting him to come back. I think it's stupid to let him be with his family and just a damn quarterback and no line. Yeah, he's done. He knows he's done. When Ben Roethlisberger brings his family to all of his games from week 10 on, the writing's on the wall. He knows it. His family knows it. Now we have to know it. He's done. Ben Roethlisberger is no longer playing in the NFL. Who knows? He might come back as a coach. We'll have to see. He's going to stay in Pittsburgh. He's established there. Juju gave a real-life hometown discount, which is a term misused, usually by the national talking heads just because a player stays with the team, but you really did take less money. Serious Juju props. 100%. Well said. Cannot say it any better, Robert. Well said. Michael Hall, do you think Pittsburgh needs another running back or 2 to back up Najee Harris? Are you confident in the other 2 we have already, and if we have any other in mind? This year was weird for the running back situations in the running back room. I liked, in a Matt Canada offense, I like the guys that are a little quicker that can catch the ball. I love McFarland. McFarland played in the Matt Canada system for University of Maryland, had his best year, too, under Canada's system. Was going to be the backup, but got hurt in preseason, never got healthy, and couldn't win his job back as the number 2. Snell's a guy, to me. He's a guy. He's going to have the ball. He's going to get some yards. He's not going to do anything special. Same thing with Balaj, though I think Balaj is a better pass catcher. I love Jalen Samuels. I thought Jalen Samuels was developing. He's an excellent pass catcher out of the backfield. But Steelers went a different way. I think they're going to pick up a running back in the draft, though, for depth. It's not going to be a first, second, or third rounder. A day 3 pick, definitely. Somebody to pick up to bring in to hopefully be a better option. We'll have to see. Robert, again, coming back. I admit the truth that Michael Petaway Tomlin is absolutely number 1 best coach in the NFL. 6.5 days a week. 7 days in the bye week during the offseason. I like that you say 6.5 days of the week. That was very well said. Very funny. Love that, Robert. That's great. Joseph Jester, I think the injury got in his head. Yeah, I think it's more than being in his head. If we're talking about Ben, it's just his ability. His arm looked nice and strong when he first came back from that injury. And then when we went on that 10-0 run, you guys remember that last year, 10-0? Ben Roethlisberger, he was throwing it everywhere. Then something happened, he got a tweak, and then everything was short. Won a couple more games, and then And it was tough. Tough to move the football down the field. And this whole year, he was the same quarterback. Exact same quarterback. I don't want to see that again out of Ben. I really don't. I just don't. We got to that one. Sorry. That's the first one we said already. Okay, Gordon again. What do you think about Baker Mayfield? They actually asked me. I was on the Browns podcast before we played the Browns, and they asked me, what does Steeler Nation think about Baker Mayfield? And here's what I told them, Gordon. I said, Steeler Nation loves Baker Mayfield. I love Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield on a team full of talent out the ass, wide receivers galore on that team, 2 excellent running backs, 3 deep at tight end, great offensive line, keeps these games competitive because he keeps making dumb mistakes. Love Baker Mayfield. Sign him for 10 years, lock him up. That way he can keep doing stupid-ass commercials, living in his stadium. Love it. Keep him coming. Or Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts. Well, Jalen Hurts, yeah, I mean, he's decent if you want him as a quarterback. But I don't know if we're going to have him as an option, to tell you the truth. But he did pretty well. I can't deny that he didn't. He did pretty well. I don't know if the Eagles are looking to get rid of him, though, because they made the playoffs with him this year. 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I'm just looking at there. 6-4. Yeah. He put together a solid season. I think that they need to be what they are. They need to go full running offense, as opposed to trying to play a hybrid. But yeah, he's a good player. But I don't know if the Eagles are going to let him go to be an option to pick him up. Right now, I don't think he's listed as a free agent option. Do you think Claypool is going to have a better season next year? Yes, I do, because there's nowhere to go but up. This was a crap season for Claypool. And I think the biggest part that hurt Claypool's game was not having Juju on the field. That really, really hurt them. So we'll have to see how they do. Moving forward, I think he's going to be a better player. Just can't go out saying you're going to catch 14 touchdowns when you only caught like 2 this season. FYI, thank you for letting us know. Appreciate it. I don't know what that means, but thank you. Joseph Chester. Sorry, should have clarified. Meant Bush. Oh, you meant for Bush for the injury. Yeah. He definitely in the playoff game with that elbow injury, he did not look the same. He was not attacking, especially on his first run. Like, he usually puts his shoulder down and reps into the guy. He did not do that on his first run. More worried about the ball. You saw him kind of cover the ball before he got hurt on that first run. Definitely didn't have it down the stretch. Michael Hall, I know it's way too early to call, but do you think 2022-23 will be our year even without Big Ben? No. I think next year's a rebuilding year. I thought this year was a rebuilding year, guys. You don't start 4 rookies on offense and 6 rookies total the first game, having Norwood starting in the slot game 1, starting punter, Presley Harvin III. 6 rookies started game 1. Later in the season, we had another rookie in Loudermilk starting, who I like Loudermilk a lot. But we are rebuilding. I was fooling myself. Look at all these rookies starting. We're rebuilding. We're getting younger. We're putting rookies out there. But I liked who we drafted. I like Moore. I like Green. I love Freiermuth, and I am head over heels. You build a team around Najee Harris. Build the team around Najee. It's gonna be Najee's offense next year. That's what it's gonna be, guys. It's gonna be the Najee Harris offense. Kind of was this year, but it's even more so. We're gonna try to develop that line a little bit more and go. Doesn't mean we're not gonna make the playoffs. You know, I'm not a prognosticator. I don't have a crystal ball. You know, the fan of me, of course, want to make the Super Bowl every year, but we're honestly rebuilding. I think we need some more parts on defense, offensive and defensive line. Need some more help because the injuries just killed us this year. Absolutely killed us. Robert, again, if Joe Hayden becomes a safety, makes a Pro Bowl, indoor, wins the Super Bowl with another team, I hope you'll be different than the other Steeler fans and get back into me and admit I called it. No, I think that you're fine. I think that he can be a good safety in this league. It's just, if you're asking me, would I rather have, and I'll ask you too, Robert, would you rather have Minka Fitzpatrick as your free safety, or would you rather have Joe Hayden as your free safety? I'm going Minka Fitzpatrick. Guy's only 3 years in the league. I'm keeping Minka. No two ways about it. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I can agree with you. I'd say he could definitely go out and be a Pro Bowler, maybe for another team. He's a smart player. And I think he's one of those few corners that could probably make that transition to free safety and be a good one. And we've been talking about that on the podcast all year. We talked about it a little bit at the end of last year too. So it's not something that we haven't discussed on the podcast. Robert Tamboro again, my friend. I think Terrell Edmunds is okay. Agreed. And will be a dynamite top nickelback and top substitute safety. It's just that it's because of Colbert and the friendship that he's gotten unfair advantages. Well, the reason why you're saying that he's started so long for us, I can't disagree with the fact that he's kind of hung on a bit, but we don't have anybody else to play. He's good. He's good. He's just not great. And we expect greatness out of our strong safeties. We're used to seeing Carnell Lakes. We're used to seeing Troy Polamalu's. We're used to seeing Bell, Myron Bell, I think, that played, and Lethon Flowers, guys that hit hard. Soft name, hit hard. Lethon Flowers, man. Love that guy, too. He's a soft kid. Not disagreeing. And Steeler Nation, that's been the hour. That's all the time we have here on the Steeler Nation Vidcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises, part of the Big Play Network. Be sure to go over, guys. Get over to the Steeler Nation Twitter right now to win a signed, authentic field Ben Roethlisberger jersey. Follow the directions. Steeler Nation Twitter. Get yourself that Ben Roethlisberger jersey. Be great to add to and wear it with pride. Having a Hall of Fame signed quarterback jersey, courtesy of Total Sports Enterprises, courtesy of Canaba Dips as well. So looking forward to them. Be sure to follow us over on Twitter at Steeler Nation, and Instagram at SteelerNation.com, also on Facebook at SteelerNation.com, where you guys are jumping in as well. Again, Anita Baker as well. Big Ben tougher than steel. Of course he is, Anita. You got that damn right. Damn right. Kenny Beamer, thanks. Oh, I'll be bringing Kenny back up for the go all cheers. Love that, Kenny. LeBron again. Ben Roethlisberger, 2022 Steelers quarterback. No, LeBron. Stop it. I know you're a Cleveland Browns fan. That's why you're saying that. Knock it off, LeBron. You're drunk. Sit down. Follow the Steeler Nation podcast on Twitter at _SN podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Steeler Nation podcast, or follow me, SN Striker, at SN Striker on Instagram, on Twitter, those things. And we'll be seeing you soon. We got Eddie as well. Happy retirement, Big Ben. That's great to hear. Yeah, we love you, Big Ben. Thank you so much for the 18 wonderful years, the 2 incredible Super Bowl victories you brought to our town, the 3rd Super Bowl that I actually went to in Texas. Unfortunately, we didn't win that one, but what a great ride for Ben. What a great, awesome ride for Ben. And I'll give Robert your last word, too. Steelers' greatest backup quarterback since the glut they had in the early 70s. The best was Byron Leftwich and Charlie Batch. Seasoned vets. Ben Roethlisberger became the Steelers' best backup quarterback ever. I think he's done. I don't disagree. I think that could happen, but I just don't see it happening, Rob. I think he doesn't. He's a starter. He wants to go out as a starter. He's not like, does Peyton Manning come back as a backup? No. Does Joe Montana come back as a backup? No. Is Tom Brady going to come back as a backup? Hell no. These guys are the best quarterbacks ever. So I just don't see it. I understand it, but I just don't see it for this guy. And Emil Scales, love you, Big Ben. Thank you so much, Emil, for 18 years. Awesome job, guys. And guys, thank you again for being part of my favorite Steeler Nation Vidcast every week, 7 o'clock here on Tuesday nights, Eastern time. And I will be, even though we're out of the playoffs, I will be rooting along with you, as always, along with Kenny Beamer. Go Steelers! And I got to figure out how to get out of here. There we go. Bye, guys.